Hey y'all, welcome back to the shop. It is after hours again, and I got everything locked up. So grab a drink, have a seat, and let's chat and draw. And again, feel free to grab a sketchbook or piece of paper or what have you and draw along with us. So today we have another request from the amazing My Singing Monsters community, Cody404. I'll pop that up on the screen here. Has requested that we draw this monster that is what is named Droah, I believe. Is that how you say that? Droah? It is one of the newer monsters from the game, My Singing Monsters. Now, I did download the game on my phone because I was curious about this thing that this community likes, and it's actually a pretty fun game. So you should check it out if you haven't yet. But we're going to redraw this Droah creature in my style, is what he was looking for. So let's do that. In the meantime, let's go ahead and kick on some music and just chill. Yeah, alright. And we can just talk about whatever comes up. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. So we are going to draw this monster, and I guess it is a water primordial, which makes sense. It does kind of look like a barnacle of some sort or some kind of a sea plant. Botany's not really my thing, and neither are these creatures, these invertebrate creatures in the seas, or a mollusk, I guess, is maybe more accurate. Something like that. So let's see if we can find a good pose for it. I like monsters, and I know we've talked a lot about monsters since we kind of do a lot of monster redraws. But I think one of the more compelling things about monsters is that they have existed like throughout history. Every culture has had their monsters. And for a variety of reasons, I think. Like, current day monsters, we have, like, obviously King Kong and Godzilla, and we've got, like, all the Hollywood monsters, like Dracula and Frankenstein and the Mummy and all that sort of stuff. We have all those monsters. And in the past, they've had a lot of monsters too. Medieval times had a lot of dragons and kind of crazy creatures. And ancient Greece had a lot of creatures. And I think back in the day, at least, this may not be true for recent stuff. But back in the day, they used to create these sorts of stories about monsters and gods and all that sort of thing for to explain the world, basically. There was things that were happening in the world that they just couldn't understand. And so the easiest thing to do was, well, that's caused by, the volcano god or the volcano monster, or, this volcano keeps erupting because the king of the monsters, the father of all monsters, Typhus, is trapped below because Zeus put him there. Stuff like that. And I think that a lot of the times people just find those stories, like, really awesome. I know I do. Very interesting. And then they've always got heroes to slay the beasts, too. Like, Hercules is probably one of the more prolific heroes that slayed the monsters. He slayed a lot of Typhus's children, Typhus and Echidna's children. Like, the Hydra was one, the Lernaean Hydra, the Nemean lion was another one. That sorts of stuff. He slayed a lot of different monsters too, and not just Typhus's children. Like, they had the Stygian birds that Hercules drove away and killed most of them. Alright, what are we gonna do here for a tongue? I know it's a singing monster, so maybe we'll make it look like it's singing or something. Not to the side. We kind of made it looking forward. Alright, so, and I know I said I was going to start doing animation stuff. That's coming soon. I'm going to start trying to do that this weekend. I really only have time to do this stuff kind of after everybody's gone to sleep, so that's why these are night videos. Plus, it's just more chill at night. You know, I can look out the window and nothing's really happening in the world. Everybody's laying down, relaxing, maybe sleeping. Whatever. They're doing stuff. And we're just chilling, talking about cool stuff that we like. Like monsters. Like my singing monsters. So basically in that game, you just create this team of monsters that lives on your island. At least I haven't played that much of it, so this may be a rudimentary understanding of the game. But you basically create this team of monsters that they all sing, and they all do different parts of an orchestra. Like one of them is like a tenor, another is a soprano, one of them is like a beat, like a drum. And so one of them is like a rhythm maker and stuff like that. And then you just make your own combination of monsters that sing, and they make money for you, and then as they make money you can buy stuff, and it's like an island builder, like one of those old island builder games. But this is a much more interesting concept than here, just build this giant town and hopefully you don't get raided when your protection wears off. We built this guy the wrong way. We gotta build him from the inside out. I was gonna get rid of all this stuff on the outside here for a minute. Alright, try again. Alright, so there's the inside mouth. And it looks like it's got 3 mouths, or at least like an inside mouth and then a couple of protective layers. So let's make those protective layers now, or the second mouths. Whatever you think of them. Alright. Wrap it around here. Like this. Yeah, so I don't know. What are your favorite monsters from whenever, recent, from history? Excuse me. Hard for me to say. There are a lot of monsters I really like. Pokemon actually has a lot of really cool monster designs, even though they're not meant to be terrifying. They're more meant to be like, I don't even know what they're meant. They're meant to be like sometimes cute, sometimes cool looking, whatever. I like a lot of Pokemon. It's like Rayquaza is probably one of the cooler designs in Pokemon. I like Godzilla. I've always really kind of liked Godzilla more than King Kong. And King Kong is more of an older generation monster, to be honest. My parents liked King Kong. I never really did. I always liked Godzilla a little bit more. But then I've always been more drawn to Japanese culture than Western culture. Or kind of the mishmash of Japanese and Western cultures than kind of the traditional Western stuff, like going to a baseball game and eating, I don't know, apple pie or something, hot dogs. It's nice and all, but I don't know, not for me. Possibly not for me. We gotta skip that ad. Alright. So let's see. It's got this big bottom lip. I am curious to know if these are protective layers or if it's like 3 mouths. I know it's kind of more of an advanced monster in the game, so I wouldn't be able to tell you because there's no way I can get this monster anytime soon. Another thing I think about monsters is the reason that we created so many is, and I already said it's kind of to explain all of the unknown things. There are unknowns or known unknowns, or I said like the speech from Samuel L. Jackson. We got known knowns, known unknowns, and unknown unknowns. From Pulp Fiction, which is amazing speech. His character in that show was awesome. In that film, it was a television show, it was actually a film. His character in that film was pretty cool. But I think a lot of the times it's like, yeah, this monster, you know, they'd be sitting around a campfire, they'd be sitting in town, and they'd be hearing things outside of town that they could not explain, that absolutely terrified them. So they came up with these fantastical stories about what these creatures were. And I think that society these days doesn't do that enough. We don't do that anymore, not nearly enough. Like when and sometimes we do, and a lot of times when I go camping, we will tell silly stories, but they're more silly and ridiculous than like monster stories. Obviously, we don't have much to fear, because nowadays we have weapons that can take care of pretty much anything. I'm just going to draw the base head here for a second, and then we can get around to it's got like aquatic things coming, like protrusions coming off of it. Maybe we can make it a little bit smaller. And then we can make it come in at an angle like this here. Like its body, whoops. Its body's gonna be going like this way or something. Or it's like looking up, because it looks like it's kind of rooted in the ground. It's like it's not something that necessarily could walk around. There we go. It's like a sea cucumber type of thing. Let's make it smaller yet. Something that I always like to think about too are the fact that we don't really have many great deep sea stories. We have some, don't get me wrong. We just don't have that many, and it seems like people these days don't really want to explore that sort of thing unless it's like some kind of crazy horror film. Where's the action adventure stuff like in the deep sea where we explore these crazy possible monsters that live under there? That's another thing that, you know, humanity just doesn't understand, because we haven't explored the deep sea much. And I realize we're kind of technology limited on that. But maybe we could get more stories about that. Like, obviously, the moon and outer space is an easy thing. I'm going to turn this music down. It's a little loud. Is easy to make stories about. And then they have a lot of deep space stuff, which can be terrifying. Deep space it's a big thing out there, and we have no idea what's in the farthest reaches of it. We barely know what's in our own solar system, let alone what is in like neighboring solar systems or whatever. You know, not that we could ever reach any of those solar systems anytime soon. But the stories are nice. I did like the Star Trek from like the 90s and everything. I still watch those today if and whenever they're on the services. I think they're all limited to HBO now, which sucks. I'm actually going to make those fold over. These petals, as I think in the original picture, they kind of fold over. Something like that. That's more... The perspective on the flowers is going to kill me. And these petals, not the flower petals, or whatever these are, the seaweed, whatever this plant material is that's over the top of this primordial being, which is cool. Amazed by the My Singing Monsters community. They're so nice. Everybody that I've seen from that community has just been so friendly. I appreciate you guys so much. They're a really awesome community. Alright, and he's like in a bed of cabbage looking stuff. And we'll make this bigger cabbage. Bigger cabbage on the bottom. Yeah, and the interesting thing about Pokemon, I think, for me, is how they can turn just about anything into some kind of a monster. Now, it's always kind of dumbed down for kids, which, okay, sure. You can't always have, like, terrifying or awesome monsters made out of, like, car keys or whatever. You know, like a birthday cake. Or whipped cream. I think that's what Alcremie is, right? Made of whipped cream. And when it turns into its Gigantamax, it's like a giant birthday cake. Or wedding cake or something. Whatever. I don't know. But I always find it really cool that they can turn, like, just the most mundane creature into a monster. Or some kind of cute and cuddly thing. And I think we need more of that. More things like Pokemon. Not just to give Nintendo competition, because without competition, they kind of stagnate. I think anybody would, really. Because if you're just like... And that's the problem with Disney, I think, too. Disney is like... It's been on top for so long that... We'll make them a little smaller. A little smaller yet. It's been on top for so long that it just doesn't have anything to challenge it. And I know DreamWorks exists, and I know, you know, Sony exists and all that, and those are only recent things. But I still really don't think that they challenge Disney to the point where they need to make like actual good content, or they could go under. Because they just exist to exist at this point. To make their shareholders money. It's not like it was way back in the day when Don Bluth came out. When he finally left Disney and he made his own studios, Don Bluth Studios, and then he started coming out with these absolute banger films. Like The Secret of Nim and Fievel Goes West, or his studio is the one responsible for... The Land Before Time. Like, these films were awesome. They were targeted at kids, but they were more gritty, I'd say. I know a lot of people who had their childhoods absolutely messed up by these movies. The Secret of Nim was terrifying as a kid. I know by contrast today, it's probably not that bad. But maybe we should flip those to the back. I wonder if we can... Let's trash those and make them go the other way. Alright, we got a strict time limit today of about an hour. I'll finish whatever we don't get to tonight in after the video ends. I don't like keeping you guys for more than an hour. Nobody likes watching a video for that long. Of some dude just drawing on the internet. I know we're chatting and all that stuff too, but... And I wanted it to go backwards because he's going to be like singing this way. And it's going to be like blowing its little things back, maybe. You know, he looks like he's like screaming. I don't know how this guy's animation goes. I hadn't looked into it, but I just imagine like a primordial singing would be something like this. There we go. Yeah, so Disney's never had anyone since then that's really put, belt to ass as far as making them have to work for their films. Don Bluth almost destroyed them. His films were absolutely crushing Disney films until the Renaissance happened, and then Don Bluth fell off and Disney took over with like The Little Mermaid and Aladdin and the Beauty and the Beast and all that sort of stuff. Really took over, and Don Bluth couldn't keep up. His stories were just falling off hard. Animation style always stayed really true to the Don Bluth style too, which is really fun if you're into that sort of thing. Looking up that sort of stuff like me. You can always tell a Don Bluth film just by the way it's animated. With Disney, I think what they liked to do, and I don't know this for sure, but I think what I remember hearing is that they would always have like a key art style, and they'd have like a key artist. And whoever that artist was, the character designer artist, that's kind of the art style they stuck with. Which is why Lilo and Stitch looked so different, wildly different than, say, like Mulan. It's because they were going with a different art style rather than just this like generic Disney art style. Maybe make another one up here or something. I don't think he has one up there, but we'll make one. He gets another one. That was an ugly one. Yeah, maybe he does. Just like that, maybe. I'm going to spend too much time on that little tentacle. I need to move on. Move on. Alright. Disney monsters were pretty cool too, if you think about it. Like you had Maleficent that turned into the dragon, which was awesome. Really cool design. I actually liked that film because they actually let the prince do something. I also like The Little Mermaid for that reason. They weren't just accessories to the princess. They actually did stuff. Like in Mulan kind of solved all the problems. I know the story's about her, but she kind of just solved all the problems, and the dudes in that show were just kind of accessories to her. Even Mushu, to a large extent, was kind of sidelined to Mulan. And again, that's fine. The story was about Mulan. But I just like the shows where the princess doesn't just solve all the problems on her own. Like it's all of the things she's done throughout the story helped her succeed. Right? So like in Beauty and the Beast, all of the friends she made in the castle helped her ward off the invasion in the castle. And Beast realizing that they actually found love was the reason that he was able to kind of turn it around on Gaston. I thought Gaston was a criminally underrated villain too, by the way. Criminally underrated. And it's got like a little necklace sort of too down here. A necklace of waddles. Or whatever these are. Waddly things. Yeah, and you know, Monster Ursula was cool too, and Eric driving the ship straight into her abdomen, just harpooning her, was awesome. That was a pretty cool moment. Aladdin and Jasmine working together to kill, you know, well, they didn't kill him, but to defeat Jafar up to the point where Aladdin just had to outsmart him. Because Jafar couldn't be defeated, really. Especially once he turned into Sorcerer Jafar. But that's what I'm saying about the other day about villains not imposing actual threats. Like in Aladdin, they could not beat Jafar. Once he got a hold of the genie, that was it. They couldn't. There was really nothing they could do. The only way Aladdin was able to do that at all was because he outsmarted Jafar. And that's what I think we're missing in these new films and TV shows and stuff, is that for the most part we're kind of bereft of stakes. Like, they don't want to make it too intense for some reason, and I don't understand why. They don't want to make it too intense. Like, really think about how the heroes and the villains could come together, or rather, they create this dynamic where the hero absolutely has to come this seemingly impossible task. And that's really what makes these sorts of stories so memorable, you know what I mean? Yeah, and then it's got like all these spots and stuff that we'll do at the color phase. Doing the color phase here. It's got these like ridges down here that are kind of like a pumpkin. There we go. And I imagine this thing lives on, like, I know it's part of the Crystal Island thing, but I imagine this thing would live underwater normally. And then maybe we can make some like musical notes or something. Like, this thing is screaming musical notes. It's like, trapdoor. We'll figure that out later. Maybe I could Google like what the Crystal Island looks like real quick and see if we can get a background going for it. Checking. And from what it looks like, it's like somebody's hand, maybe. And it's green. Okay. Interesting. Alright, well, we know the background is green now, so that's helpful. And then we can just give it these like protruding crystals. They're coming out here. There we go. I don't know. Something like that. They look more like swords. Let's try again. Yeah, we just need more stakes for things. Where it's not always, and things shouldn't always have to resolve so perfectly, you know what I mean? You mean, like, everybody shouldn't be able to make it out, you know, without something changing in their life. Because that's the whole point, right? Is you want to see something change, the character develop in some way, Otherwise, what's the purpose of the story? Honestly. I don't know what I'm doing with that. Just make them like shiny rocks, maybe? Sure, that sounds like a good idea. Let's make them like shiny rocks. Or something. I'm gonna have one like come down here. There we go. Sure. That looks pretty good. And then since it doesn't look like it's underwater, I guess we won't make this guy look like he's underwater. But we can still do like the wind effects or whatever. And give him the musical notes. Like he's belting out some kind of crazy primordial epic. There you go. I don't know much about musical notes either. I'm not really a musician. I took music class in high school and did not have the greatest of times. There we go. Because they didn't teach guitar, and that was all I was really interested in. And then I never ended up learning guitar because I never cared enough to go out and actually try to learn it. And I think 12 is big, and maybe 15. 15 looks okay. Alright, now I don't think this guy has eyes. It doesn't look like it. Oops. Oh. Now loading. It does random saves just in case my computer crashes. I got this old potato computer that I've been working on for like the last 11 years. I am honestly surprised it lets me record videos or run an art tablet or anything at all. But it does. It's holding in there. I'm super grateful for it. It is holding strong. Yeah, try to make these ridges look believable. And that doesn't really. There we go. Sort of. Give it a little head in here. All right. Yes, and so I don't know. I feel like a lot of movies too these days, especially these like Star Wars. Well, yeah, I mean Star Wars too, but the Disney TV shows, it's almost like these guys play way too many video games, and then they try to make a film that's like a video game. That doesn't work. I mean, it can work, but it really doesn't. Because you've got to have video games you can play for a long time. So you can set quests, as you need to set quests, right? You need to set things for the player to do, otherwise it's, it ends up like being like Mixtape, where it's just a an interactive movie, where some people are calling it a visual novel now. Whatever. If it floats your boat, it floats your boat. I didn't think it was, for what it was worth, I didn't think Mixtape was that bad. It's definitely not a video game. It's more of it's a story on rails. But that's another one that really has no stakes at all. Like, it's just like somebody's story of maybe how they wished their high school, their end of high school or whatever, their teenage years went. And that's it. Like, there was no stakes. The only villain was the police officer. And even then, it felt so forced that it was crazy. I'll give us bottom of a head here. This is kind of a complicated monster to draw. It seems simple, but it's kind of complicated. It's super fun, though. It's always these matching lines that kill me. I'm trying to draw them. Like, you draw one line like this one, and then you have to draw the second one that matches it, but a little bit spaced over. Like, yeah. See, I've already messed it up. Sorry, I'm focusing. I don't mean to have dead air. Another reason we got the music going. Hopefully it doesn't kill the atmosphere. Hopefully it provides something when I'm not actually speaking. I'm trying not to leave you guys hanging, though. Thinking of these things to talk about is kind of crazy, too. Just kind of running with whatever happens. Here we go. Yeah, so I just think that Disney lately has really just been letting me down. They've had the occasional really good thing come out, but it just not really, you know? Like, one thing that they did well lately that they didn't even advertise for was that film Luca. I say lately, and I think that film came out years ago now. It was pretty good. And I think it was only released to Disney Plus. But it was really good. They need more stuff like that. Less stuff like, you know, Turning Red. That movie was awful. You know, they need more stakes, more potential conflict. And there really was no villain in that show. Well, there was. That crazy little Italian child was the bad guy, I guess. But he was more just a driver for the point of the film. And that you should just be happy with who you are. Which is a good message to have. You should be happy with who you are. You shouldn't try to change yourself for people. In my opinion. My humble opinion. This guy who just draws monster pictures on YouTube. What do I know? And it's also got a lot of little kind of boils or whatever coming off of it too. So like these things. There we go. Alright. Yeah, what are some other really cool monsters that I can think of that... I guess you could consider Minions monsters. They're kind of like humanoid monsters. Kids really seem to love them. And I think that may be the reason why Disney does what they do is for marketing purposes. Like, they're less interested in telling stories and really more interested in just selling products. And they've always targeted children, so that's kind of their main thing, is that they're just gonna keep advertising things that they think kids want. And sometimes it hits and sometimes it doesn't, and they make most of their money on merchandising. I don't know. I just wish they could do both, realistically. You can tell a good story and still market your products. Like, I know it's harder to market a Beauty and the Beast, whatever. I would imagine it would be pretty tough to market like a Beauty and the Beast plushie or something, since that's really popular right now, or plushies. Or action figures, or what have you. But you can still sell Belle dresses to girls. Because that's really, or, even maybe Gaston outfits to boys, which I think is probably less of a thing. But you can definitely still sell Belle dresses to little girls who like Beauty and the Beast. Maybe not anymore, because it's kind of an older thing now. But if you create a good princess thing, like the Frozen stuff, the movies were god-awful. As far as a coherent story goes, the first one was passable. The second one was a joke. But kids really liked the music. And kids really liked Elsa and Anna. So they sold a lot of Elsa and Anna action figures, Hans and Olaf especially, and a lot of princess dresses. That came out when my daughter was young, and it was like, Dad, I need these dresses. I need them. So, like, okay. So I know that stuff works. But since then, the only thing I think that's came out that's even been halfway decent was Moana. Well, and Luca, obviously, just mentioned that. But I can imagine how Luca would be difficult to market products for plushies for sea monsters. That would have to be, like, purely on, like, DVD sales. Or they don't do those anymore, really. But I don't know what you could market for that, because it didn't really have a soundtrack either. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just a film that's very good. That's it. Unfortunately, less marketing opportunity, so they probably saw it as more of a failure, even though it was highly popular. Lots of people liked that show. Oh, somebody just triggered my alarm. Sorry about that. Alright. Where are we at? 43 minutes. Alright. There we go. And we need to create a... Did I just do that on the blue layer? Oh, crap. Well... That's how it goes. I made a special layer just for the ink, and I put it on the wrong layer. I'll fix that later. This is basically the final design anyway, so I'll just trace over it again on the separate layer. Maybe fix some of these issues that, like right here, is a huge issue. I'll fix that when I go back through it. There we go. Yeah, and then I'll get this sucker colored in. And like I said, I don't want to take too much time anymore. I want to limit these to as close to about an hour as I can. I think 45 minutes is a good time too. get the inking done, and then I don't think I didn't record the time lapse again. Whoops. Tonight has been just like one after the other. I will probably edit this into something and make it a short. So no worries, we'll figure that out. But I will share the finished piece same way that I did as a YouTube comment. So for those interested, you may see this pop up earlier than the video itself. And I appreciate you guys watching the video to see kind of how the process works. But again, I appreciate you guys sticking with me, and until next time, I'll see ya.